based on what we're saying.
Oh my god!
There we go.
Poor
Yorgos.
things.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Poor Things.
Oh,
starring
wow.
Emma Stone,
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo,
Ruffalini in some languages.
Ruffalo, and William Dafoe.
Your boy.
Nominated for 11 Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Makeup and Hairstylings, and Best Original Score. You know, I forgot that this one also got for production design, and the production design was really good in this one.
Phenomenal. I think this should...
For creating a surrealistic
What did we compare?
world,
What was the other one?
Barbie. That we were saying,
Yeah.
like, that one would get, like...
No, this should win production design.
Better than Barbie?
Yeah, no, because,
Absolutely.
again, when it came to
Oh, I forgot
designing...
about Napoleon.
When it came to designing this film's, like... Oh my God! Like a surrealistic world, you know that because this was just a surrealist painting made into a film, and I heard somebody describe to me like if you could jump into Dr. Seuss's world and see what that looks like in film,
that's pretty good.
That's what this would be.
But an adult version of that, right?
Hold on. Well, give us a
Description of the film?
description,
So
yeah.
essentially, you want to do it?
Go for it.
Hey, let's say the same words at the same time.
Okay.
The
This is
movie
about...
Are we best friends
that's the only one we got right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go for it.
okay, Poor Things is about it's basically a female Frankenstein. William Dafoe finds
Dafoe.
William Dafoe. Willem Dafoe.
Say it with Bradley Cooper's Lenny.
Really, this film is about
we go.
William Dafoe.
God.
It's about Willem
Godwin.
Dafoe. God is what Emma
The name of his
Stone calls him, but basically he's he's an expert surgeon and like a
what?
doctor and
Anatomy doctor. Yeah.
anatomy doctor. Like he teaches about surgery and teaches about body parts and all that, and he's a super skilled like person in his field.
Right.
And he was raised by his father who had similar beliefs and was very much experimental and believed in science and the like objectivity of life and the creatures and things around him.
Yeah.
He stumbles upon one day this woman who jumps over a bridge and is going to kill herself, and she succeeds, but she's pregnant with the baby, and as he describes it, it was obvious to me then what I needed to do. Remove the baby.
Before you say that,
Go ahead.
when you see this man's house and his experiments, he's constantly experimenting with putting the body of a goat on, or the body of a pig on the feet of a chicken.
Okay.
Or mix.
Or, yeah, like a dog on a chicken, or
So
a pig on with a chicken's head, and yeah, he's constantly mixing and matching things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Important.
what ends up happening is that he says, "Oh, it's obvious. I was to cut out the baby, remove the brain from the baby, and put it in the woman's body, and then resuscitate this new life form."
Okay.
Because that's obvious. Why wouldn't you do that?
Brain of a baby into the adult body.
Dog body.
Of the mother.
Reanimate the mother.
Shock it back
Yeah.
up.
And then what the film is basically the, like, not full life cycle, but, well, kind of.
Yeah, condensed life cycle.
It's the condensed life cycle of Emma Stone's character in, full adult form going through the mental growth, I guess, of her character.
From
knew you were
baby,
gonna go there.
from baby to adult.
Exactly. So at the very beginning, she's like a small infant, and it's funny. We talked to one of our friends, Carlos Corral. He says, "When I watched this, I just saw my kids because they're all babies right now. They're doing the exact same thing. So very accurate towards a way a small child or toddler would act, and then gaining
foot.
yeah, and then gaining language and motor skills, which then later on evolves into not just being able to speak, but then having
Furious jumping.
Furious jumping.
furious jumping. But more important than that, the the development of the mind and the exploration of society and
the exploration
self.
of society and self through a woman's eyes.
Yes,
essentially.
very, very important.
Very important.
Very, very important. And that if it sounds like a lot of very complex
It is.
ideas,
It is.
when you watch this film, it's so dense. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so dense in its exploration. It's so dense in its execution.
But it's also its originality. It's
Originality.
phenomenal.
I know, my
Yorgos
goodness.
Lanthimos always cooks up these. I mean, this is based on the book, by the way. We can't
Oh,
give him
I
the
was
full
gonna say, is it
credit.
original?
Yeah, no, it's adapted. But I mean, the imagination of Yorgos Lanthimos to tell human stories via this crazy kind of concept,
Right.
is kind of his staple right now.
This is
He
fun.
did a film. One of my favorite films of his is called The Lobster. Where
Oh!
that's him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay,
great
now
concept.
I know. Okay.
Great concept, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the concept of if you don't find the love of your life by a certain time, you get turned into a lobster.
Oh, I know this guy.
Or you get
Yeah,
turned
yeah.
into an animal of
Or
your
you
choice.
get to animal of your
You're
choice.
talking about the killing of a scared deer or whatever.
Yeah, the killing of a sacred deer with the kid from Saltburn
Oh,
as well.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen that one
terrific
yet. I've
been
picture,
hearing a lot
terrific
about it.
picture. The one I haven't seen is The Favorite, which he
But-
did with Emma Stone as well. But
yeah,
anyways, I mean, just Yorgos' fucking brain is amazing, man.
It's
Okay.
a super experimental, dynamic exploration of the full scale of what it means to be a woman in society, as well as
And in dated society, right? This is set in what the
no,
late
not even dated society. What are you talking about?
No, what I mean the concept still stands strong. I mean, where the film is set.
Oh yeah.
I mean, set in what the late 1800s?
I believe
I can
so.
tell by the dresses.
Somewhere in that vein.
Yeah.
Victorian era, maybe.
The Victorian.
No,
yeah.
no, a little bit
Oh, let's
later.
pass
I'd probably say
Victorian.
like 1870s.
19th century. Yeah, late 1800s.
Yeah.
So late 1800s,
Frankenstein.
essentially.
It's crazy. I mean, I know that you were saying that this would be my pick as far as
I
best
thought this was
picture.
going to be your favorite of the year.
Again, I really liked just the feel goodness of the
Holdovers.
holdovers. But as far as like films that I am going to be returning to time and time again, much like you said with Past Lives, this is going to be
This
that for
one?
me. This had so much in it. It took so many risks. I mean, also seeing Emma Stone in a role like this and her putting everything out.
Look, I've said
And-
this time and time again. The more I see La La Land, the more I'm okay with her winning an Oscar. She deserves an Oscar for this. There's no question about it. La La Land's amazing. It's one of my favorite pictures, obviously, and her performance in it. What it took to make that performance is what's more impressive almost than the performance itself. But this performance is phenomenal. It's something I never thought I'd see in Emma Stone, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now
It
that you
drew
guys are
out.
praising it that much, how is she not in the picture instead of Lily Gladstone?
It's just that Lily Gladstone, I think.
Political, man. It's
Yeah.
political
Okay,
more than
well,
anything.
let's put that aside. It'd be awesome if she did win it, right?
Oh, I want her to win over
Yeah.
Lily Gladstone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do I think it's going to happen? No.
No.
I want her to win
Because
over Lily
again,
Gladstone.
again, for anybody who
Because you guys are talking way more than Lily Gladstone.
Yeah,
no,
because
and for anybody who thinks that the Oscars is just this objective show of merit, it wants to be, but also it's very political. If you pay
Yeah,
enough
yeah.
money and you do enough campaigning for your person,
or
you're gonna get it.
if
Or
you just want to be in the political
times-
correctness
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
times, right?
Yeah, talking
But
about it.
again, so many films talking about opening up the perspective of like voices that are, like
thi-
it's over.
This is also one of those films that like is a stories rather that is made for cinema.
You
Like,
can't tell this anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you could read a
It
book.
was adapted,
Yeah, you could
but-
read a book and like open your mind and like, but to see this on a visual scale that Yorgos puts this in, building the sets the way he does, and the casting is perfect in this too. Willem Dafoe's character has an amazing arc as well. Rami Youssef, which surprises me. Jared Carmichael in this is a great supporting role.
Carmichael, yeah.
Jared Carmichael was fantastic in this film, man. Like he blew me away.
I will say
and
that
Mark
after-
Ruffalo, you don't see Mark Ruffalo in this role. You don't see Ruffalo.
don't see him.
You see this character. It's just terrific.
For ratings,
Yeah,
This is gonna be interesting.
it's a 9.9.
9.9 for you.
Whoa!
9.9. It's
I'm
fantastic.
definitely gonna watch this.
It is one of the best things to come out this year. If you are into cinematography, experimental storytelling, anything.
Fantastical elements, but also fantasy-based scenes.
And I'll get into my notes on cinematography,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's 9.9. Austin,
I've got it at like a solid 9.5.
Okay.
It's still up
Yeah.
there.
Editing wise, do you feel like anything crazy stood out for you, or
No, but there was one part where it
I
kind
would
of threw me
think.
off a little bit. But I mean, it just, it's, fantasy, right? In a sense. Was like the floating, like,
the cutaway scenes where it's
no,
like
when they were in
transition.
Portugal, when they were in Portugal and she's like exploring, I don't know if you guys saw like the floating trams.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
yeah.
Oh, those were like real?
No, not the design, but you go to Portugal and
Yeah, but back then in the 1800s?
yes,
Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
yeah, they're what's sky movers or sky, what do they used to call them? They're big in Disney now.
Let's
But
put it up. What is it?
yeah. Anyways,
Well, the air tram.
I think it's also very heavily inspired by the production design of Metropolis.
Yeah.
Just if you kind of pay attention to Fritz Lang's kind of sensibilities for production design.
It's just very. It's also meant to, in the lens choices and everything. It was meant to emphasize the
Heighten,
surrealistic element of
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
And I think in that, I'll get into that right now.
So
It's
realistically,
this
I'll get into it right now.
courage the cowardly dog approach. No, in a very
wow.
surreal way. It's
Okay.
just, it's terrific.
Need to see it.
Yeah.
Rating.
I'm at about a 9.3.
Okay.
I'm about 9.3, though it has a lot to say and it executed it extremely well. I think I'll revisit this picture for more of the technical things than anything. Yeah, I mean it's great. It's a terrific picture and
Oh my God.
it's a great story. But I think I'll revisit it more than anything for references on surrealistic kind of execution in cinema. Originality for
Yeah.
sure. Originality for sure. It's
fantastic.
yeah. I just the reason I put it at a 9.3 is because it's a relatively universal. But I think if I'm being extremely honest, just like I'm honest when it comes to writing something in this vein, I think women will benefit from this film more than men, and rightfully so.
Just like Barbie.
Well, a lot of people, when they saw this film and saw Barbie, they were like, this is just a more mature Barbie.
Yeah.
But the thing is I feel like this one does a much better job at giving the perspective of like an earnest exploration of the human condition, again, as a woman, the perspective from a woman.
Right.
And trying to encapsulate... like looking at it, looking at society with fresh eyes. And that's why I love the cinematography. It's very wide because like a child looking at society for the first time, you're very wide-eyed. Like you walk in,
Curious.
like if you look at a child walking into any room, they're looking at so many different details and textures, and everything's shot where it's a super sharp depth of field where you can see everything because that's what it wants to present to you, you know? Yes.
Cam LT Zeiss Ultra Primes.
Really?
You son of a bitch.
Wow.
Wow.
Anytime we build a budget, that's the camera and lens package you propose.
The Zeiss Ultra Primes?
Yeah.
No.
I know you're shooting for cooks too, but you've
No.
presented the Zeiss Ultra Primes.
Zeiss Ultra Primes are for, again, very specific use case. In this situation, if you have everything very shallow, you're taking away emphasis from what's in the background compared to the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
When they were shooting Emma Stone's character, everything's very shallow because we're just able to focus on their perspective to everything.
Yeah.
But when we shoot the environment, no, everything needs to be sharp and tacked because we need to be able to feel the texture from everywhere and feel that overstimulation. And then use the extra wide lenses to feel all that just shoved into our face. So that was super, again, intentional in the cinematography. It accomplished the feeling it needed to give to the audience. Very, very well done. And then again, it's this whole idea of being a child, very wide-eyed. And then when you look at her more matured later on, what are the lens choices? We're going to 50 millimeter because we don't need to see this wide-eyed child. We need to see that she's on even
She's
ground with
more-
society. She's now a player in society, contributing to the conversation of why does the what is it called, capitalistic society exist when things can be more democratized, things can be more open, that we don't need to have these structured roles. Even like the whole idea of exploring like not just me being a part of society, but what is it like to be a part of something like marriage? And that's why she skipped being with the other guy and then went
And what
straight
is
back.
it like to see to be a part of prostitution. And what
But
does that
that's-
what does that mean? No, that's
It's
important.
great. It's fantastic. It's
No,
exploring.
it's
so
a
many-
science experiment
Yeah,
for her.
exactly.
All of life,
like I
just
said-
like her father before her, is a science experiment for her.
And it's such an earnest exploration
yeah.
of that. And I mean, that goes to the story in the book, but in the execution, in the set design, the cinematography, the directing, they really put the audience there. And that is something that I am going to keep revisiting for time to come.
Yeah.
Because I just think there's so much to be said.
One last question for you, cinematography wise, before we wrap up and move on.
Yeah.
What do you feel was more effective in the use of black and white versus color, this or Oppenheimer?
Oh shit.
I'm gonna say
This got more experimental in its lens choices.
Yeah.
For key moments, right? When we go into the
the only intentionality between that is that the black and white moments were meant to kind of show this. Okay, I'll break this down as quick as I can. Re-evaluating the film, I feel like the real exploration Emma Stone's character is Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy needs. When you first start off with your fundamental needs, all you're meeting is your physical desires.
Yeah.
So what that means is that we need to breathe, we need to eat, we kind of need a place to take a shit. Like, that's all you need. But then at the top of that, as far as physical needs, there's also this notion of like sexuality. There's like a need for sexual gratification. After that, then we need a sense of belonging, a sense of safety, a sense of society and community. That's where you see her expanding into like friendships. And then beyond that, then it's this idea of like ethics and morality, and then like how to contribute to yourself and where do you fit into society. And that's when she gets into prostitution, that this is her place in society. And then at the very, very top is actualization, that not only do you have your own perspective on self, you're now contributing something. Now she's back at the home, but she's contributing something to literature. She's contributing something to the new experiment that's made. And okay, why do I bring all this up for the black and white conversation? At the very base level, when you look at that black and white scene, it's like all of us. The basic truths are that we need to satisfy things like I need to eat, I need to be at home, I need to take a shit. But then once she explores her sexuality, that's when it's like, I don't need this to survive. This is now a pleasure. This is now exploring into like, life is not just built off of these pieces of necessary and unnecessary. Now there's this weird blurred line. Now there's color. Now there's texture. Things are not just straightforward, matter of fact, because now sexuality can be had with anybody. The idea of exploring what is my identity to society can be explored in so many different facets. I think that that's great. Going back, Oppenheimer used it to throw you back into the moments that happened and the texture of what it was to be in that mind frame, in that place, and push people back. I feel like Oppenheimer used it a lot more, and because they used it more, they had more intentionality and it was more effective.
Okay.
I think Poor Things, it was intentional for that one beat, but once we shift into color, the black and white portions really don't matter that much, But I can justify it to no end. 9.9.
Great.
Beautiful.
Thanks for
Moving right
listening.
along.